Hey guys, Jay from Roadster Garage. Today I'm out in Chino Valley to put the 369 Roadster on the dyno to tune it on methanol. So we've run it on gasoline, we've run it on ethanol, now it's time to move to methanol. So the guys made the changes to a mechanical fuel pump, had to change a fair share of configuration stuff to get that done. And it's got some Injector Dynamics 2600s in it. So we have plenty of fuel available. Still on a precision 8685, so we should be able to make quite a bit more power while managing the heat better. So off to the dyno we go. We're also going to take apart the engine that I broke in the Streamliner last year at Speed Week. So if you didn't watch that video, I think I kicked the belt off of it and cooked it pretty good. So it had water coming out of the tailpipe, so we'll take it apart and see what's destroyed inside of it. So that was pretty quick work. The objective was to come here and dial the fueling in on methanol, because when you go from one fuel to another, you'd like to make it as simple as a click, but you're doing these events where you don't get a ton of runs throughout the year, so you want to be pretty right about it. So it made 970, 24.5 pounds to 8685, 8.5 to 1. Nice air to water intercooler. It's got 40 pounds of coolant pressure. You know, we've been working on making coolant pressure. The 7-stage daily dry sump maintains around 82 kPa, so we still have good pan back. The pairing between the EGTs is nice. The back pressure is low. It's like 82% boost to back pressure ratio. And you know, that's a big turbo. Those of you that have messed with those 85 millimeter precision turbos, like once you get around 40 PSI, the party starts. So I would like to run it on more boost and make a number, but I am nervous about losing a tire on the dyno because that'll throw stuff all over the inside of this guy's shop. So we're not going to do it. but we are ready to go to El Mirage and have some fun. So this is the 3 liter that I took to Speed Week last year in the liner, and it is dead. Like I mentioned before, there was water running out of the tailpipe. It probably has either a torched head or a cracked cylinder, but there's something salvageable. So we're gonna get to that something and maybe see some torn up stuff in the process. Some low mileage used Toyota buckets for sale right here. I mean, these things are looking fresh. You know, it's a little different when you're taking apart your own handiwork. In my mind, I saw the light come on the dash. It said low volts. That's when I realized the alternator belt had fallen off. But I didn't want to quit because I was having fun. And I killed the engine. I don't know, man. You put this on Facebook Marketplace with one of those I know what I have. These pistons have like dyno time and maybe 3 miles on them. It should sell for a premium, don't you think? It's an odd combination. Clean oil and rust. Could have let off the gas. Didn't let off the gas. Could have kept the water from rolling out of the tailpipe. Didn't. I was weak. And I've seen you in the mall with 4 kids. I know that pull-out isn't always easy. Sometimes you got to stay in. I stayed in too long and ruined this engine. But there's lots of good parts left. The cylinder head I was worried about because the cylinder head is a lot of money. And that thing may look like it's been in the ocean for a year, but it won't take that much money to get it straight, which is pretty exciting. probably clean these pistons up. They just have corrosion on them. They look a lot worse than they are. The pins aren't bent or anything stupid. Rods are good. Head's good. Cam's polish. Clean up the pistons. Just put those in. Basically transfer all this stuff into a dart block and change the head gasket configuration. I am not gonna mess with this style head gasket on this engine anymore. I can just use the new style stuff. So the engine is bare. There's a crack in number one. I kind of suspected it was a crack in the block because after I got the car to a stop, we towed it back to the pits and there was water running out of the tailpipe, and I'm like, it's got to be a cracked block. The head, although it looks nasty because of the corrosion, it'll clean up. It's a good GTE head that I can put back in circulation, and I kind of need it right now because I have a project back home, one of my personal projects that I could use the head on. So that's pretty exciting. Pistons and rods, kind of the same thing. Like the pistons look terrible because they're all corroded, but they'll clean up. It's not like damaged parts. The block is broken. So camshafts get polished. You know, even the bearings could go back in an engine. So the bad thing is by the time you get a core block and you convert it to GTE and you do all the machine work, you got caps on it and everything else, it's like $4 grand. So yeah, this is $4,000. It's just toast, which is not great. But the bigger bad news is you know, go out to the event and break the car and you can't run the car. So I've already been through that. So this isn't like that big of a negative for me to face because, you know, it's been almost a year has gone past. So no big deal. This thing goes in the garbage. That stuff goes back to Florida and lives another life. So there is another dart block in circulation to come out here. Dart, you know, getting geared up with that project, they're really good to me, and I really appreciate it. And I think they make a killer product. So there's another dart block that can kind of get in circulation out here because there's 4 cars that all have, you know, basically the same engine, whether they be 3-liter or the 3.2-liter, but there's a range of cars that could use a spare engine out here. So I'll put a spare together with the dart that I have back home. This thing goes in the trash. The rest of it gets cleaned up and goes back and lives another life. So when you see the warning light on the dash let off, it's there for a reason. This guy. This engine is out of the Caddy. Mike had taken it apart to freshen it up because it's just been run for a bit. Rings, bearings, goes back together. You could see where they honed it, where there's a little bit of shadowing, where there's some wear in the bore, but nothing terrible. The plug that fell out on the dyno has been revised with another plug that came out of the blown up 2JZ that you guys just looked at. So this is a 1.5 liter Volkswagen engine, and over here is the cylinder head, and it's a bit of a funny duck when you look at it. The valve angles are different between the intake and the exhaust. So the exhaust valves are, you know, much more vertical than the intake valve. So the piston looks a little bit funny. And the stroke is so small that it takes that dome piston just to get a reasonable compression ratio. So, you know, this engine's like 9.5 to 1, but it takes that big old dome because you have a fairly large chamber and you have tiny stroke. So this engine will be back in the truck, hopefully for the May meet that's in a couple weeks. So the plan was I was going to be out here, I was going to tune this engine and tune the 369 car, but they didn't get it back together in time. So we'll go to the May meet on gasoline, and then somewhere between the May meet and the June meet, I come back out here to Arizona and I'll get the Caddy on the dyno and get it tuned up on methanol. So I don't know what goes on with this engine in its next chapter, because we had been running it what I thought was pretty hard. We had a run that Keith had put the engine in high gear and it just wouldn't accelerate, and it just parked it for a whole mile.
Mile 2 speed 173.122, quarter mile 189.205. Mile 3 185.798. Take that car to impound.
It didn't blow up, which means it's not tuned up hard enough. So add boost and see where this little 1.5 liter goes. It would be pretty crazy to go over 200 with it. I think that would be a pretty neat thing. And I'm sure I'm not combing through the micro records to say that. It's cool. You know, you've got a little old Volkswagen engine and a little old Volkswagen truck, and the thing's fast, you know, so pretty cool stuff. This is way out of my wheelhouse. You know, I never much messed with Volkswagen stuff, so looking at this, if it's the first time you've seen it, it's the first time I've seen it, and I got really nothing to offer on a technical side, other than for an engine with some fairly simple approach, it lives pretty well, pretty impressive. So if there's anyone in the comments that knows stuff about this Volkswagen engine, I'd like to chat with them, because I'm definitely interested. So far, I've only worked on the keyboard. I haven't done any mechanical stuff to it. So the liner has some upgrades that I've been waiting for, and I'm excited to have. It now has a Waterman mechanical fuel pump mounted on the end of the dry sump, and it has a fuel tank that is almost 20 gallons. The tank that was on the car before was pretty small, so even if we would have fit the fuel pump, we wouldn't have enough fuel volume on board to make runs with. So now this car can be run on methanol. Just go out there and put 40 or 45 pounds of boost in the thing and not have to really worry about the heat, because the methanol is such a fantastic coolant. You get so much volume of methanol in a cylinder that it's pretty phenomenal. So the bad news on methanol, it's toxic, and you have to use a lot of it. So now this car has 2 sets of ID 2600s. But with over 13 gallons a minute of fuel pump available, you know, that's enough to make 2,000 horsepower on methanol, which I don't think that we'll ever get there. But at least now we can run some boost, because when I first ran the car, it was pretty fast, but it had a gearbox that was 248, 148, 1. So it had a fairly aggressive ratio set. And then with this gear set that's in it now with the Liberty 5-speed, it goes like 300 miles an hour in third gear. So it was really slow without a lot of boost. And now I'm going to be able to run a lot of boost in it. So it'll be pretty awesome. It has EGT sensors installed. I worked on the calibration. I hope to be able to dyno before Bonneville in August, but if I don't, it's close enough that I can get down the track with it. We are going to move to a larger oil tank. So the Roadster has a much larger oil tank, and over time the oil pressure is much more stable. So even with a dry sump, there's a lot of RPM and the oil just gets beat up. So we're going to move to a larger oil tank, pick up about a gallon of oil, which will help stabilize the oil pressure. It's got a Motec E888 that's going to receive those EGTs and also give us an opportunity to lob some more sensors on. So there's now a Rife high temp sensor on the inlet of the intercooler, along with a pressure sensor on the inlet of the intercooler to track the pressure differential across the intercooler. And we're geared for around 360. So it was geared for around 400 before, and like I said before, just didn't really have the power to pull it up. So hopefully 40 pounds or so of boost, it'll pull this thing up and we can get past the 350 mark and then decide on what to do next. The season opener at El Mirage is in a couple of weeks. It'll be the May meet. And while this car won't go, the 369 Roadster and the Caddy will be out there along with the Datsun. So we'll have some fun. If you're not doing anything and you're on the West Coast, the May meet in El Mirage is pretty cool.